Hello and welcome to another SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So, in this episode, I will be discussing Disney's 2012 animated classic, Wreck-It Ralph, watched as part of Family Film Night. So, this is Disney's 53rd animated classic. That depends on your take on what constitutes such a classic. I know it might be the 52nd to many people, but I'm actually still working on an episode to explain what I mean in Disney reviews with regards to my take on the classics numbering systems. So do subscribe to my channel to catch this episode as soon as it's released. All will be explained in due course. So, Wreck-It Ralph. It's an interesting kind of Disney film. You would be forgiven in thinking that it was a Pixar. Well, you know, although it's got a very Toy Story-ish kind of feel to it throughout, but and to be fair, it does borrow many elements that made that film series successful. It's not a Pixar. It is a Disney through and through, and a pretty good one at that, basically encompassing many different elements and genres aimed at appealing to basically the widest audience that it can. In the film, we are introduced to a kind of living world within video games, basically, that are in an arcade, all interconnected via the electrical system. Specifically, we meet Ralph, as voiced by John C. Reilly, who is basically the villain of a kind of like a retro 8-bit kind of style video game called It Felix Jr. The premise of the game sees Ralph destroy a tower block. Basically not so dissimilar idea to Donkey Kong. And basically the game's hero, It Felix Jr., as voiced by Jack McBrayer, must basically go level to level fixing the tower's broken windows, doors and other things, making his way to the top and then basically throwing Ralph off the top, winning a medal in the process and the love and admiration of the folk who live in the tower. Ralph, he longs for the same recognition and to basically feel included, part of the team. Being sort of feared and despised by the residents, he actually lives in an actual dump on a tree stump, basically a far cry from the comfort and inclusion felt by Felix, being the hero and all. One night, the ultimate insult is dealt. The residents and Felix, along with a number of classic gaming characters including Pac-Man, throw a party to celebrate the game's 30th anniversary. Ralph is not invited. He didn't even know about it. Believing then that the only way to gain the respect of the other characters in his game is to win a medal, like Felix does. Ralph then sets out on his own mission in a new action-adventure game called Hero's Duty, basically paying homage to the games like Call of Duty, Halo. It's basically a first-player shooter where the mission is to get to the top of a tower and win a medal. Only problem is that you have to get through swarms of mechanical-looking bugs, cybugs, to do so. So basically everything goes a little awry, however, from there, and he ends up leaving in a jet and crashing through into another game, Sugar Rush. Here, he meets Vanellope Von Sweets, as voiced by Sarah Silverman, basically a glitch in the game, who wants so bad to be part of the race, which compromises the Sugar Rush game, and join in with the rest of the characters in the game, and will try anything to do so, even using Ralph's newly obtained medal to do so. But this is thwarted at every turn by King Candy, the ruler of the Sugar Rush game, as voiced by Alan, and I apologise, Tudyk, who doesn't want Vanellope to race in the fear that her glitching will see players abandon the game and ultimately see it unplugged. So, apologies. Meanwhile, without Ralph, the It Felix game is kind of believed to have malfunctioned and is at the risk of being disconnected. It never, of course, dawned on the other characters that although Felix was the hero, without Ralph, there would be no game. Felix then basically goes on his own mission to find and bring back Ralph to the game before it's too late, enlisting the help of Sergeant Tamara Jean Calhoun from Hero's Duty, as voiced by Jane Lynch, which makes for some very interesting kind of buddy comedy, whilst also finding Felix in love at the same time. So, Yes, this movie looks and feels like a Pixar creation, more so than a Disney creation, if there is kind of that such distinction these days. But simply put, this film is an absolute masterpiece, especially if you're kind of into your gaming characters. I mean, because as this film features a massive ensemble of heroes and villains from classic gaming hits right from the early years of gaming, such as Q-Bert, Tapper, Frogger, right through to the mid-years with entries from the worlds of Sega and Nintendo, such as basically Sonic the Hedgehog and Eggman from the Sonic and Hedgehog series, Bowser from Super Mario Bros., characters from the Street Fighter series. There are literally hundreds of cameos, links, Easter eggs, and references to watch out for in the movie. Trust me, you will have to watch the film more than once to really catch them all. It is pretty, it sounds like a Pokemon reference, but it is pretty much the Toy Story equivalent for the gaming world. And do you know what? It works. Not only do you have the characters to look out for, but also the way in which many are animated, especially those in It Felix Jr., absolutely brilliantly crafted to mirror the actions and the kind of gameplay you would have experienced back when such games were popular. Q-Bert, for instance, is fantastic. They capture him to a T, right down to the gibberish language which was used in the game, and the way that he kind of moved along the game board. The characters from the tower block in Felix Jr. also kind of walk and act with that kind of jumpy motion, reminiscent of the early kind of 8-16-bit gameplay. All the characters and games which take centre stage, however, are actually original creations, which is an absolutely fantastic idea. I kind of almost wished that the games were real. They certainly made them feel like that they were, and kind of in this respect, their integration into the overall gaming world was seamless. They felt that they kind of naturally belonged, and basically against some of the other characters which were used in the movie is kind of no mean feat. The movie was apologies. The movie was kind of as nostalgic as it was current and fresh. And the one thing I kind of did particularly enjoy was the way that they kind of mixed both the retro and the current gaming styles together. And in fact, kind of different genres of games, come to think about it. There was literally something for everybody, no matter what your gaming preferences are. It was kind of great to see this mix, and of course what would happen when them kind of worlds would collide. There was also the inference that love and friendship kind of knew no bounds. No matter what your era, your background, game style, it didn't matter. Well, unless of course you were the bad guy. The movie was hilarious and absolute fun to watch from beginning to end. I absolutely loved learning about the characters and the games from what they came from. And for video games, they really had some real depth and some real on-screen chemistry, which I thought was just an absolutely excellent touch. What's more, you might think that given all of the video game references that A, this film would kind of be relegated to the likes of us geeks, and B, that they would kind of deter from the main story and kind of add unnecessary kind of clutter. Neither of these are true at all. In the first instance, the way that everything is portrayed, I feel, is accessible to all. And at the very least, I can guarantee you will know at least one of the games represented or kind of referenced. In the second instance, the additional characters add some absolutely excellent comedy moments and are basically only intertwined in places kind of like where all the games meet, in Gaming Central, as it were, which does see the likes of Ralph attending a kind of like Badanon, which is basically like an AA-style meeting of like video game bad guys, all kind of coming to terms with their role in their specific games. And, you know, like meeting other characters from games, including Q-Bert, again, which have had their games kind of disconnected and have nowhere else to go. Again, absolutely classic to see each of these characters interact as if kind of in the real world. It's hard kind of not to imagine them as real characters, and even then, it's kind of easy to forget that all of this interaction is happening only in one video arcade. The movie doesn't opt for the musical treatment. Moreover, it utilises a score by Henry Jackman, which complements the film very well, accurately kind of capturing the musical styles of each of the games very well, I thought, in my opinion at least, which is then basically complemented with the use of more contemporary tracks by artists such as Owl City, Kool and the Gang, and Rihanna, which all aid in giving that film a kind of more lively appeal. So, overall, this is an absolute gem of a kind of a modern Disney classic, and proves that they can still entertain when given the right formula and the right inclination. An absolute bevy of gaming references and characters to behold, yet with some really fresh and lovingly crafted original characters from games you really do wish you could actually play. I definitely cannot recommend this one too much, especially if you like Toy Story or you're kind of into your retro games. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like on this episode. Please do think of subscribing to SciFirst MovieTalk for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and other movie-related content, such as movie-related games and things like that. So, but otherwise, yeah, please do come back to SciFirst MovieTalk. Thank you very much for watching. We hope to see you again. Goodbye.